Pat McGuinness, National Housing Party, part 2 of Farage made a big mistake calling them illegals in the channel. So the strategy Farage should have taken is he should have been honest and said these people are claiming asylum and we need to go to the root of the problem. To sort this problem out, we need to leave the Refugee Convention. And he hasn't got the guts to do that because ultimately he's happy to continue to accept refugees for citizenship in our country. He's on record as saying he's happy for 30,000 refugees coming in, including Syrians, to come into the country. So National Housing Party have been clear all along. You know, it's not a popular thing to say, people don't want to hear it, but these people are not breaking any laws. That is the problem. They are deliberately coming across, deliberately getting caught because they know they're not breaking any laws because we're signed up to the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. So what needs to be done is, you know, we need to campaign to stop accepting refugees, then put in a law to make it illegal to turn up on dinghies to claim asylum. You know, we've got to end the whole process. It's such a big issue, it's massive, and many people don't realise how big it is and what the problem is. You know, there's lots of people saying, oh, just turn the boats back, just, you know, just stop them coming over and push them back. But, you know, we need a deterrent. That's one thing. So let me just tell you our policy quickly, and that is we'd set a date for the estimated 2 million illegals what are here now. This is not including the people coming over from Dover, right? We need an amnesty for the 3-year prison sentence that we suggest should be implemented after we've left the Refugee Convention. So once we've left, there'll be a 3-year prison sentence for illegal entry into this country. So the 2 million who are here already, they could get an amnesty from this 3 years if they take up the offer. And we would set a date for, say, 12 months' time, and we say, right, if you leave from a port, a seaport, an airport, and you give your DNA, fingerprints, photograph, so they can be checked to make sure they haven't committed a serious crime, which they would be then dealt with and punished for that. If they haven't committed a serious crime, they're free to go and banned for life. And one of our suggestions is to build thousands of detention centres which can later on be turned into social housing for our own people. This will create a lot of jobs to build the housing, which at first would be used as detention centres to get rid of these 2 million illegals. Once those 2 million illegals are gone, housing prices would also come down. And however, if they get the 3-year prison sentence, say they didn't take the offer to leave within the 12 months, and they were caught, they would get the 3-year prison in the detention centre. And if they don't have any documents, because this is a common occurrence, if they don't have any documents, because you cannot deport, this is another thing people don't realise, you cannot deport people if they don't have any documents. If they don't have any documents, they stay detained until they find their documents, until they find a country that will take them. So if they do get the 3 years, they can also pay a fine of £30,000 to get out. So obviously we don't want to keep them in there because it costs money, but we need a deterrent. In Russia, I think it's 2 years hard labour as the deterrent for illegal entry. Pakistan, India, 10 years prison. And we've had multiple murderers and rapists who have committed heinous crimes, been deported more than twice, and they keep coming back because there's no deterrent. If there's a deterrent in the first place, and you know, they know they're going to get 3 years if they get caught, they're not going to want to come anymore. This is the deterrent, guys, yeah? So that's the policy needs to be put in place. So back to Farage, he chose to keep calling them illegals coming across the channel when they're not. They're claiming asylum. But he don't want to face the elephant in the room. The root of the problem at Dover is we accept refugees for citizenship. So Farage wanted to protect the Refugee Convention. Quite a lot of other politicians are doing this. You know, they've got to stop calling them illegals. They're claiming asylum, and unfortunately, I don't want none of these people coming here. None of us do, yeah. But we need to plug the hole The ship is sinking. Our ship is sinking. We need to plug the hole before we do anything else. Yeah, we need to stop them coming in, and the only way to stop them is to campaign to leave the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. So, you know, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, deport them," and all. So this is where Farage has come unstuck, and he's lost face, and he's turned. He's made an idiot of himself, really. Because he kept kicking the can down the road, saying, "Oh, they're illegals," and so then when he was interviewed, they said, "Are you going to deport all these illegals?" Now, illegals obviously shouldn't be in the country, and everyone agrees they need to go. But because he's calling them illegals, he knows that a lot of these people coming across on the dinghies can easily pass as refugees. They're from Iran, they're from Iraq, they're from Syria, they're from Eritrea, they're from Vietnam. These places you can easily claim asylum without no problem at all. So what do you think the government's going to do? Oh, you went through a safe country, we're not going to let you stay, when they've been accepting Syrian refugees for the last bloody 10 years, and Eritrean and Iranian and Syrian. So what we got to do, we need to plug the hole first, stop accepting refugees. I definitely wouldn't be against, you know, further on down the line, finding a way to get rid of the people who have entered on dinghies, yeah? But at the moment, it's pointless saying we need to deport them, because a lot of them, they've been, a lot of them easily passed as refugees under the current legislation of a refugee convention. I don't want none of them here. I didn't want none of them coming in the country. Didn't want any immigration, full stop, legal or refugees, anything. So, but what's done is done. We need to look at this problem properly, and calling them illegals is not helping. So Farage has obviously realised that a lot of these people have been given refugee citizenship. It's going to be incredibly hard to deport them, right? They're going to easily find a tragic story of how they left their country and their family was massacred or whatever. The left's going to use it, and it's going to be a tool for the left against us, right? So, you know, how far do you go back, yeah? Like, of deporting refugees, you know, why aren't they all illegal? Why is the whole immigration disaster illegal? You know, we didn't vote for it. Where does it end, yeah? You know, the refugee thing, you can go back to the Vietnamese boat people, you can go back to the Cypriots. I know a few Cypriots, really nice people, settled into London, Cockneys and all that. But, you know, how far do you go back? You go back to the Jews in the 20s, 30s, you know. It's just not going to be a very helpful thing for the campaign, so to speak. So Farage made the big mistake by calling them illegals. He should have took on our strategy. Is the first goal we need to do is educate the people that we do not want to accept refugees anymore. It's a security risk. We're on course to become a minority, and it needs to be stopped. We need to leave the UN Refugee Convention. But Farage won't talk about that, and this is why he's made a big mistake. So yeah, that's our policy. We need to make it illegal to cross the channel on dinghies and claim asylum. We need to make that illegal. It's not illegal, and we are, you know, we're probably the only party who actually openly says this. And as I said, you know, once we have left the Refugee Convention, further on down the line, these dinghy people should be removed, really, right? But to start saying that they're illegal straight away it's just not true. It's not what is happening. These people are deliberately getting caught by border force because they know they're going to be claiming asylum. This is why they're putting them in hotels, and this is why they're flooding across. Calling them illegals is not helping deal with the situation. So this is where Farage has gone wrong. You know, he's openly said he's happy for more refugees to come in the country anyway. How anyone supports him is just beyond me. I've just got no idea why anyone, you know, we've got millions waiting for social housing, we're trillions in debt. Is he going to let them stay in his house? I don't think so. It's always the poor people who are going to have to deal with it, you know, and compete for housing with them. You know, these people are like on a different planet. So that's my video, part 2 of Nigel Farage made a big mistake calling them illegals, yeah? it's come back to bite him on the backside, and he's humiliated himself, kept calling them illegals, and in the interview they said, "You're going to deport them?" He said, "No, it's impossible." He's tied himself up in knots. Should have had a look at our policies, National Housing Party, and there you go. So also, you know, permanent settlement immigration is an anti-Christian concept. Act 1726, God created the nations and the borders, so any permanent settlement immigration of a different ethnicity onto a land of another ethnicity is anti-Christian. This is all wrong, and everyone's starting to realise it now, and we need to stop permanent settlement immigration and stop accepting refugees for citizenship. So thanks for watching. Pat McGuinness, Christ is King.